They say time heals everything. I believed that. At least, I tried to. After everything that happened, I built a new life. Simple, predictable, safe. I moved to a quieter part of the city, away from the chaos I used to drown in. I rented a modest apartment, started freelancing as a photographer, and spent most of my time either editing behind my laptop or shooting mundane events. Birthdays, small weddings, pet portraits, nothing that required emotional investment. It wasn't glamorous, but it kept me sane. Structure helped. So did the distance. Most days started with black coffee, a jog through the park, and checking my inbox like clockwork. I avoided deep conversations, relationships, anything that required vulnerability. I wasn't bitter. I was just done pretending I could survive another emotional disaster. My brother, Nathan, was the opposite. Always outgoing, always the optimist. We didn't talk often, but when we did, he made it sound like life was still full of magic. He texted me last week, insisting I come to dinner. "Important family news," he said, "and I need you there." I agreed, reluctantly, not because I missed family gatherings, but because Nathan rarely asked for anything. So, here I was, back at my parents' house for the first time in months. Same old living room, same old creaky stairs. Except now, everything felt smaller, tighter. I stepped into the dining room and immediately spotted her. Elena. I froze. She was standing next to Nathan, her hand wrapped around his arm like it belonged there, laughing softly, looking elegant, calm, controlled, just like I remembered. Except I wasn't supposed to remember her at all. She wasn't supposed to exist in this part of my life anymore. I blinked, convinced I was hallucinating. But no, she was real. And worse, Nathan turned to me and said, "This is Elena, my fiancée." I said nothing. My mind spun. My legs felt numb. My chest tightened. But I smiled. I had to. Everyone was watching. She extended her hand to me like we were strangers. "Nice to meet you," she said, her voice perfectly smooth. I took her hand. Cold. Familiar. She looked into my eyes for just a second too long. A flicker of something darker passed between us. "I've heard so much about you," she added. I wanted to scream, but instead, I just nodded. Congrats. Dinner continued like any other family meal. Small talk, laughter, wine. But everything felt like a lie. Every time she spoke, my ears burned. Every time she looked at Nathan, I wanted to pull him away and tell her the truth. But what was the truth anymore? That 3 years ago, this woman nearly killed me? That she vanished without a trace after that night, and I never told anyone? That part of me never recovered, even now? They'd never believe me. She looked too perfect. And maybe I looked too broken. By the time dessert came out, I could barely breathe. I excused myself, stepped outside, and stared at the sky like it could offer me answers. She followed me 5 minutes later. "You're still alive," she said behind me, soft but sharp. I turned slowly. "What are you doing here?" I could ask you the same thing. "You're engaged to my brother." She smiled. "Life's funny, isn't it?" I didn't respond. She stepped closer. "You're not going to say anything, are you?" I didn't have to. We both knew the answer. As I watched her walk back into the house, I realized this wasn't a coincidence. Elena hadn't come back for love. She came back for control. Again. That night, sleep didn't come easy. I kept replaying the dinner in my mind, her smile, her laugh, the way she leaned into Nathan like they were made for each other. But I knew better. I'd seen the side of her that no one else had. I had survived it. I lay awake, staring at the cracks in my ceiling, thinking about what I should do. Tell Nathan? Confront Elena? Disappear again? None of those options seemed realistic, especially not the last one. I'd spent too long building this fragile version of peace. But peace was no longer an option. The next morning, Nathan called, cheerful as always. "Hey man, so what'd you think of her?" I hesitated. "She's beautiful." "Right?" He laughed. "I told you. We met at this wellness retreat in the mountains. Crazy story. She was leading a group on emotional trauma recovery. Can you believe that?" I nearly dropped the phone. "She was leading?" "Yeah," he continued. "I signed up because I thought it would be a fun reset, but then I met her and, man, I don't know, she just got me. It's like we connected on this deep soul level." I gripped my phone tighter. She was good, better than before. Now she didn't just wear a mask, she built a whole new persona. "You okay?" Nathan asked. "Yeah, just tired," I muttered. "Didn't sleep much." "Well, I was thinking you should spend more time with her, just the two of you. I know you're always cautious around new people. Maybe if you got to know her, really know her, you'd see what I see." I almost laughed. "I'll think about it," I said. But I wasn't thinking about bonding. I was thinking about watching her. That evening, I pulled out an old hard drive, one I hadn't touched in years. Buried deep in one of the folders were a few photos I had taken when I was still with her. There weren't many. She never liked being photographed, said cameras captured too much of the truth. But the ones I had, all candids, were enough to remind me of who she really was. One picture stood out. She was in our old kitchen, barefoot, holding a glass of red wine, staring straight into the lens. Her smile was soft, but her eyes, those eyes, looked like they were hiding something. Back then, I thought it was mystery. Now, I know better. It was calculation. I shut the laptop. Later that week, Nathan invited me out for dinner, just the three of us. I said yes. I wanted to see her again, this time not as the brother of her fiancé, but as someone who remembered what she had done. We met at a trendy little bistro in the city, cozy, dim lighting, white tablecloths. She wore navy blue, simple, elegant, dangerously composed. Nathan was all smiles, ordering wine, cracking jokes. Meanwhile, Elena and I exchanged silent glances across the table. She didn't flinch. She didn't avoid my eyes. She stared back, calm and confident, as if daring me to speak. Halfway through the meal, Nathan got a call from work and stepped out to take it. The moment the door closed behind him, she leaned in. "Do you still have the scar?" she whispered. My blood ran cold. Left side, below the ribs. I didn't answer. She smiled. "You screamed that night. I remember." I clenched my jaw. "Why are you doing this?" "I'm not doing anything. You're the one spiraling." "You tried to kill me." She tilted her head. "If I wanted you dead, you'd be dead." She was calm, like this was a game, like none of it ever mattered. I wanted to grab her and shake the truth out of her. But what would that do? I'd look crazy. She'd play the victim, and Nathan would believe her. When he returned, she was all warmth and charm again. She even touched my arm when laughing at something he said. I barely made it through the meal. Back home, I poured a drink and stared at my reflection in the window. I looked older, tired, haunted. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just about her, or me. It was about Nathan. She was taking something from me again, but this time, it wasn't my peace. It was my brother. and I wasn't going to let her. I never thought I'd stalk someone again, but here I was, sitting in my car across the street from the apartment she shared with Nathan, engine off, camera lens pointed toward their third-floor window. Old habits die hard, I guess. Nathan had invited me over again the day before, said Elena made her signature lemon pasta and wanted me to try it. I told him I had work. It wasn't a lie. Watching her counted as work now. Something about her didn't add up. I knew what she'd done to me, but how could she go from vanishing for years to suddenly being a wellness coach with no past? So I started digging. I searched her name. Nothing. No LinkedIn, no official website, no trace of the retreat where she supposedly met Nathan. I dug deeper, reverse image searched old photos of her face from my files. That's when it got weird. One of those photos popped up on a missing persons forum, but not under the name Elena. It said Carolyn Mendez, missing since 2018. Same face, different name, different city. I clicked the thread. A few comments, a distraught aunt, a last known address in Arizona, a police report that went nowhere. I stared at the screen for minutes, heart pounding. Who the hell was she? The next day, I drove to the address listed in the report, just to see. The place was abandoned. The door was boarded up, paint peeling off the mailbox. It looked like no one had lived there in years. I walked around the back. A broken swing, a rusted chair, and carved into the wood of the fence, barely legible, CM plus ED. ED. My initials. I staggered back like I'd been hit. There's no way. No one knew about us. She had always been so secretive. Refused photos, refused social media, refused everything. Yet somehow, she'd immortalized us here. And she'd done it years before we met. My brain couldn't process it. It didn't make sense. Unless she had planned it. All of it. Me, Nathan, everything. That night, I broke my own rule and called an old friend, Gina. She used to work in digital forensics before leaving the whole scene behind. I hadn't spoken to her in 2 years. "You sound like hell," she said after answering. "I need your help," I replied, off the record. Of course, she agreed. She always had a soft spot for me. I emailed her everything I had. Elena's photo, the name Carolyn Mendez, the forum thread. "Give me a couple days," she said. "This might take a minute." But I didn't have a couple days, because the next morning, Nathan showed up at my door. His eyes were bloodshot, his hands trembled slightly. "She's missing." My stomach dropped. What? Elena. She said she was going to the market, never came back. Her phone's off. She's not answering texts. I forced my expression to stay calm. "Did you check the usual places?" "Yes, I've been calling everyone, but I didn't want to go to the cops yet. She hates attention like that." Of course she does, because attention brings the truth. He stayed for an hour, pacing, rambling. I offered him tea. He barely touched it. After he left, I sat there in silence. She had vanished again. Only this time, not from me, from him. Later that evening, I received an email from Gina. Subject, "You're right to be scared." The body of the email was brief. Elena has gone by at least 3 different names in the past 10 years. She's been involved with at least 4 men. 2 filed restraining orders, 1 died in a suspicious accident, and the 4th, well, that's you. Call me. Now. I didn't call. I just stared at the screen. She wasn't just dangerous. She was a professional. She didn't destroy lives by accident. She designed it that way. And now, she was inside my family. Or maybe worse, she was somewhere out there watching, waiting, planning her next move. 3 days passed. Still no sign of her. Nathan was unraveling. He called me 5 times a day asking if I'd heard anything, if she'd reached out. I gave the same answer every time. No, but I'll let you know. I lied, because she had reached out. The night after Gina's email, I found a letter. Slipped under my door, typed, unsigned, but I knew it was her. You think you're in control. You never were. He'll choose me over you like they all do. And that last part hit like a punch to the gut. Because it was true. When I tried to warn Nathan about her, even subtly, he got defensive. Just because you don't connect with her doesn't mean you get to project your past crap onto my relationship, he snapped. People change. I wanted to scream, you don't know who she is. But I knew better. So I stayed silent, watched, waited, until the night she came back. It was a Thursday. I was brushing my teeth, half asleep, when I heard it, 3 soft knocks on my apartment door. I froze. No one knocks like that unless they want to be remembered. I opened the door slowly, heart in my throat. There she was. Rain dripping off her coat, eyes darker than I remembered, lips curled in a faint smile. "Hi," she said, like we were old friends. I didn't say a word. "Can I come in?" "No," I said. She tilted her head. "Nathan thinks I'm in Seattle." I blinked. "You told him that?" "Of course. I needed a cover story while I cleaned up a few loose ends." I stepped outside, shutting the door behind me. "Why are you here?" "To see you." "Why?" She leaned in close, too close, "Because you're the only one who knows what I'm capable of." "I'm not scared of you anymore," I lied. Her smile widened. "Oh, honey, it's never about fear. It's about belief. And he believes me. You're just inconvenient." I forced a laugh. "You're not going to get away with this." She looked almost amused. "With what, exactly? Loving someone your brother doesn't deserve?" I flinched. "Don't you dare talk about him." She stepped back, hands raised. "Relax. I'm not here to hurt anyone." She walked off into the rain, vanishing down the hallway like a shadow. I stood there for 10 minutes after she left, soaking wet, teeth clenched. She wasn't hiding anymore. She was playing. And I was now part of the game. The next morning, Nathan called again, said Elena had texted, said she was flying back in 2 days. He was ecstatic. She said she just needed time to clear her head, he said. I get that. Sometimes people need space. I wanted to tell him everything, but I didn't, because I needed proof, real proof. So I met up with Gina in person. I handed her the letter, told her everything. She was pale when she finished reading. I can dig more, but if what you're saying is true, you're dealing with someone who's not just manipulative, she's calculated. This is sociopath territory. I nodded. I know. That night, I followed her. I had seen her earlier that afternoon, walking near the bookstore downtown. She didn't see me, or maybe she did and just didn't care. She entered a nondescript brownstone and didn't come out for 2 hours. I waited. When she finally left, she wasn't alone. A man was with her, late 30s, tall, sharp suit. He kissed her on the cheek. Not just a friend. I snapped photos. My hands were shaking. Was she cheating on Nathan? Or was this something else? When I looked closer, something on the man's wrist caught my eye. A bracelet. Familiar. Because I had the same one years ago. A gift from Elena when we were together. She was reusing her script. Same gifts, same lies, different names. It wasn't just Nathan. She was running multiple plays at once, which meant one thing. Someone was going to get hurt. Again. And maybe this time, it wouldn't be me. Nathan was bleeding when I found him. It was 2:17 a.m. His apartment door was unlocked, something he never did. I walked in to find shattered glass, a broken lamp, and my brother slumped against the wall, hand pressed to his abdomen. "Elena," he whispered. I rushed to him. "What happened?" He coughed. She said, "You were trying to separate us." She was crying. I believed her. But then she changed. Eyes cold. Like a switch flipped. She had a knife. I pressed towels to the wound, hands shaking. "I'm calling 911. "No," he gasped, grabbing my wrist. "Listen. She said, this is what you do. That you ruin things. That you ruined her life once. Is it true?" I stared at him. "How do you explain a past you barely understand?" "I loved her once," I said, "but that was before I knew what she was." Paramedics arrived minutes later. They rushed Nathan to the hospital. I wasn't allowed to ride with him, so I did the only thing I could. I went looking for her. I knew where she'd go. Back to the beginning. The brownstone. The one I saw her exit with the man in the suit. When I got there, the building was silent. I picked the lock on the side door, not proud, but muscle memory kicked in. 3rd floor. Apartment 3C. I knocked. She opened the door like she was expecting me. "I wondered how long it'd take you." I stepped inside. The place was spotless, minimalist furniture, a faint smell of lavender and bleach. Too clean. "Is he dead?" I asked. She smirked. "What a dramatic question. You always did love to jump to conclusions." "Elena, Carolyn, whoever you are, I have photos, names, a digital trail. You can't keep doing this." She tilted her head. "Doing what, exactly? Being adored? Being chosen?" I snapped. "You stabbed him." She didn't even blink. "He was going to leave me. You turned him against me." "No, you did that yourself." She stepped closer, voice like silk. "Do you remember how it felt, back then, when it was just us? You said no one saw you like I did. I was a fool." "No," she whispered, "you were in love." Her hand brushed my cheek, slow and deliberate. I froze. There was a knife in her other hand. I could see it now. Small, slim, just like before. "You can't kill me," I said quietly. "Why not?" she whispered. "Because this time I left a trail." I nodded toward the window. Red and blue lights flashed in the distance. She looked almost impressed. "You always were the clever one," she said. Then, without a word, she turned the knife on herself. I lunged, grabbing her wrist, wrestling it away before it pierced her side. "Stop it!" I shouted. "You don't get to disappear again." She collapsed to the floor, trembling. Tears streamed down her face. Or maybe they were fake. I couldn't tell anymore. Sirens grew louder. When the police stormed in minutes later, she didn't resist. She smiled, like she'd won. 3 weeks later, Nathan survived, barely. He doesn't speak to me anymore. I testified in court, laid everything bare. The fake names, the other men, the restraining orders, the knife, the bracelet. Elena, Carolyn, was declared mentally unfit to stand trial. They said she was delusional, that she believed her victims were conspiring against her, that she had erotic delusional syndrome, a rare psychological disorder where someone believes others are obsessively in love with them. She'll spend years in psychiatric care, maybe forever. I moved out of the city, got a new job, different life. Sometimes I still hear her voice in my sleep. Sometimes I wonder if she's really locked away, or if she's already planning her next move, behind glass walls and forced smiles. And sometimes I miss her. That's the worst part. Because even now, a part of me still believes she really did love me, even if her love came with blood. Love can be beautiful, but sometimes it wears a mask, and when the mask slips, what's left can destroy everything. What would you have done if you were in my shoes? Would you protect your brother or save yourself? If this story gave you chills, hit that like button and subscribe for more twisted love tales. Got your own theory about Elena? Drop it in the comments. I read every one. And remember, sometimes the person you love the most is the one you should fear the most.